Welcome to the next chapter of storytelling.
All right, Huber.
Yo.
Yesterday, for one thing, everyone looking at me in a random place, random hotel room. I'm in Vegas right now for Dice, and because of the wildfires, they moved the preview event for Split Fiction to the morning before my flight. So I literally had to go to the preview event in Hollywood, and then say hi to Joseph and the producer real quick, and then all right, I gotta go. Sorry, I can't stay for lunch.
Crazy.
But if you did not see it announced at the Game Awards, Split Fiction is the new game from Hazelight and the original EA Originals. It's essentially a sequel to It Takes Two, but has nothing to do with that story, right?
Yeah.
So it's a 3D co-op action platformer. You have to play this game with somebody else. And hopefully, I don't know if they've announced whether or not they're going to do the share pass. I think they might have.
God, yeah, that was so awesome when they did that.
Yeah, that was great because you have to have somebody to play with,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I think speaks to the strengths of these games and this game in particular is that I was at a couch with a random guy, like I think his name was Simon or something like that, right? Like we did not know each other, but
Yeah.
we were in there, we were figuring it out, we were having a good time. And Huber,
Mm.
I don't know how this studio does it. Like this game is
Co-op
so
masters
good.
at this point now.
The gameplay is so good. The visuals are so good. The performance on everything is solid. And there's just so much variety, man. In 2.5 hours, I played 10 entirely different things,
Wow.
going through the course of this game. And even with the action platforming stuff, you get to another level and then you get different abilities that you haven't used before. And
Yeah.
it's all really snappy. And one of the things I was appreciating is it's so well designed that they're not tutorializing you 100 times, right? Like
You
you
just get it.
you get it. Maybe it's a try and fail of something, or you didn't push a button and you didn't realize you could do a thing, but then you just keep going. And the pace is actually maybe at times a little too fast because you just almost feel like you're rushing. It's oh, here's a new thing. A minute later, here's another new thing. A minute later, here's another new thing.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
have time to breathe when you're playing some of these? Is there exploration or is even the pace of the missions yo, go, go, go?
it depends.
Hmm.
There were some parts that were more puzzly in nature, so it's we're wandering around an area and trying to
Nice.
figure out, okay, what can we do? What's over here? What's over there? There are a lot of places, though, particularly early in the game, that are kind of sort of chase sequences. So it's
Yeah.
you are just on the move, go, go, go. But I also think that the the co-op nature of the game kind of amplifies that, right? Because it's you're wanting to keep up with the other person. And so
Yeah.
you probably could slow the pace down and get into that sync. But because the other person's going ahead, then oh, I want to keep up with them kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's even a point where it's hey, wait a minute, come over here because I think there's a secret here that only you can do.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
he's
rely
already
on
on the
each
other side
other.
of the level. It's wait, come back, let's check this out. And then I think also the nature of the preview setting affects
Hmm.
that too, because okay, we have 3 hours and then I have to get on a plane, so I'm not wasting a lot of
Yeah,
time.
that makes sense.
Um, but yeah, so if you don't know the premise of this story, the story is probably the one thing that I'm the least interested in. I'm not sure. It's a little on the cheesy side, but at times I think it's sort of intentionally on the cheesy side.
Yeah, the family drama of It Takes Two is definitely a hard act to follow because that was very emotionally resonant, and
Yeah,
relatable to a lot of people out there.
yeah. I feel so when they did this demo, they actually intentionally skipped over a lot of the story scenes. You would just
Hmm.
end a level and there'd be a title card with a note from the devs. Okay, here's what's going on now. We're just gonna cut you to the action, right?
Yeah.
But they do start off with a pretty good amount of cutscenes, and basically, these two writers, Zoe and Mio, one writes fantasy, the other one writes science fiction. They show up to this publisher's office for some weird thing. that's going on, and they end up in these suits, and they're going to be like put in these like little bubbles and go into this virtual reality where they're going to like experience their worlds, right? And for whatever reason, like Mio didn't really get what was going on. She thought she was just coming in to do a publishing deal. And she starts seeing all this stuff and this weird tech, and she's like, nah, I get bad vibes. I'm out. I'm out. I don't want to do this. But the guy is like pressuring her. And it's like, no, we can't stop. You have to do it. And she like starts backing up, and then she ends up in Zoe's bubble. And so now they're in this shared thing, and there are these
Hmm.
glitches that jump them back and forth between their worlds. But while they're in there, they also realize that dude's not just taking the books that they submitted, they're like farming their brains essentially for any creative thing that they've ever come up with. So it's really like a commentary on like the AI landscape and stuff right now.
That's really good. Wow. Great
Uh,
premise. That's high stakes. That sounds high stakes.
yeah. It's just
I
there's a
always
lot of
like,
stuff that's like kind of like stereotypical kind of like bits where it's like, oh, I don't really like the country. You live in a city, ew, and like stuff like that. Like when they're just starting to get to know each other, that's like, okay, like this is a little bit like stereotypical, but I feel like as it starts to get further in and they get to know each other, those things start to open up more emotionally. Yeah.
totally, totally. That sounds
Uh,
really good, bud.
yeah. The first thing that you see is like you're in like Zoe's like it's like a little like alchemy lab or whatever. She's got like some fire thing, and Mio shows up and she's like, "What are you doing in my story?" Da 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 da. And then they go into the glitch, and so the first thing that you play is like a sci-fi, one of the sci-fi levels, and you're just like rushing through a bunch of stuff, and so you've got um like parts where you're like platforming over a bunch of craziness. You've got parts where like um Mio like hacks into a ship, and then like Zoe's like on the gunner and you're shooting there. Places where you like have to co-op doors and stuff. And then
That sounds so fun by itself, like
yeah.
isolated from the rest of everything that's going on. Just like, all right, cool. Space battle, co-op space battle. Let's go.
And the thing is like because in each environment, like each character has different abilities. So it's a game where I could very much see like, okay, I played it once and then maybe like give it a month and like play it again when we swap players because
Totally.
it's a very different experience, right?
That's really
Um,
nice.
so like the there's a later level, a sci-fi level, when you become cyber ninjas, right?
Gray
And
Fox.
so Mio, she's got a katana and she can switch gravity, so she can like grapple onto like a surface, like if it's with her color, with the purple color, and she'll be like walking on the wall or walking on the ceiling.
Oh,
And Zoe can't do that at all, but she's got like this grappling whip, so she can like grab stuff and pull it back and toss it and stuff. And just there's so many different things that like happen throughout the level where like, you know, like one person's on the ceiling and the other person's got to like open something up, and then like she like hits a thing and like the stuff flies in the air, and then you grab it and toss it to like smash a machine or whatever so you can get across. And there's so many just like even like just within the platforming levels, there's just so many crazy things going on. Like
yeah.
in that level, you get out, you open this door, and then all of a sudden, like you're in like traffic, like Blade Runner traffic, like all these flying ships and stuff
Whoa.
all over the place. And so you're hopping across cars and taxis, and at one point, like Mio like hijacks a truck, like pulls the driver out, and then like drives it over to Zoe. I was playing as Zoe so that I could like jump on the back and climb a ladder, and just like it's just like constantly like, whoa, what is going on?
That sounds so fun. And like you said earlier too about how not only is it doing all these things, but it's intuitive and you're just
Yeah,
you know exactly what to do. And in a second ago, you said you're getting different abilities with each character too, and the fact that it still didn't stop you, and you weren't confused or struggling at all with the controls. It's really commendable.
Yeah. And then like in the fantasy world, like of the first, because the first two stages are like really kind of quick introductory things, but the fantasy world, like you're in this town full of like these trolls and stuff. And dude, even there, like there's just so many like quick little nods and things like again, like every 30 seconds there's like something different happening. It's like,
Uh,
you're going up this ramp and there's this troll throwing barrels down. It's like, okay, that's Donkey Kong. I'm dodging the barrels, getting up here.
yeah.
And then you turn a corner and you're running at the camera like Crash Bandicoot. And then you go a little further and you climb up this thing and you jump into a haystack like Assassin's Creed.
That sounds so
Um,
fun.
and then but dude, they get into some crazy stuff like because that like yeah, that's like just the basic platformer stuff. And there's like a lot of wall running, there's grappling, there's like jumping on things and like timing to like not get crushed by stuff and all of that. But then we get into some of these side stories things, and I'm not
Mm,
exactly sure how to access them because I think you like find like a bubble or something in the world, but this is like one of the things where they just skip us them.
yeah.
And so we did a side story where we were pigs. We're both pigs, but my pig, Zoe's pig, can like spring up, like stretch up like a spring and like bounce to higher areas.
Yo, like
And
Astrobot vibes or
and
something.
her pig is running around using rainbow farts to like launch forward.
All right.
And so we're doing this whole like platforming section, like multiple levels where you have to like find these apples to like basically act as keys. So like each one of us has to find our apple and bring them to the door to open the next room.
Hmm.
And just like again, just like all these crazy larger than life things with like pigs in the mud and fruit baskets and all that. And then you go
Pigs in a
down
blanket.
this, what's that?
Pigs in a blanket.
Almost. You slide down this picnic basket into a meat grinder,
Oh
and
no.
now you're both sausages bouncing around, and you have to cook yourselves on the grill, and then you have to co-opt
That's a
squeezing
bad trip.
the condiments onto each other, and then hop into a bun.
Oh my gosh.
Then the next thing I do is slopes of war. It's like freaking SSX in a sci-fi war zone. And it's like literally a competition, Hubert. They're scoring you. You're
Against
going
each other?
downhill, jumping off of
Oh,
stuff, doing
that's so
tricks,
fun.
doing rail grinds, and then like stuff is flying out of the sky and exploding and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, then we did a boss fight, which was going back to the Cyber Ninja stuff. And so
Okay.
this was really freaking cool, dude. Like both of the bosses that I
Yo,
thought were sick. Like, so this is like
good.
this big orb machine that's like it's a parking enforcement agent. You're fighting it because of parking tickets.
That's amazing.
But like it
That's
like
so
first
funny.
like you go through this little chase scene and then you're on this platform where it's like throwing cars and stuff at you. And then because of Zoe's gravity ability, she like goes onto it. So she's or not Zoe, but Mio. So she's over there like running around on the boss while I'm still dodging stuff. And like
Mhm.
I'm tossing things to hit the boss, and then she's going over and then slashing them so they explode.
Yeah.
And then later in the fight, we actually like open a hole in the boss, and she goes inside of the boss,
Too
and then
cool.
popping out weak points so that I can attack them.
Wow.
And meanwhile, like there's all of these like ring lasers that she's having to jump over and stuff. I'm still dodging cars. The parking enforcement is like, now I'm going to throw you under the bus. And a bus just rolls across the level, dude. Oh, it's
Yeah, the
great.
bosses in It Takes Two were excellent,
Yeah.
and you know, I know sometimes like a boss fight isn't for everyone. It's like their least favorite
Mhm.
part of a game. They like the other parts more. But I think even with a recent example like Astrobot, it shows how important a boss can be to kind of break up the action and have a big, climactic moment.
Yeah. Then we're on motorcycles, dude. First, we're co-oping. We're on the same motorcycle, so it's kind of like Mario Kart Double Dash.
Hmm.
So freaking Mio is driving on buildings. Like she's using her gravity stuff to like hop from like down this side of the building to that side of the building. Now we're going straight, but then I'm on the back with my whip, grabbing dudes off of motorcycles and flinging them like cop cars. Uh,
Yo.
and then Huber, this is one of the craziest freaking things in this demo so far. So they see because they stole this motorcycle that it's going to self-destruct. So she hands you her phone and while she's driving, I'm on the other screen going through all this nonsense, like having to use my face to unlock the phone, having to click captchas, having to read through like 14 pages of
Oh
TOS,
my God.
trying to put in a password. And like I don't know how many things that they have in there to stall you, but like eventually it's like, no, you're just not going to be able to do this thing, and it blows up. And then you
Dude.
steal two other guys like mid-air. You steal two other guys' motorcycles, and now you're like driving side by side on your own motorcycles and stuff. Um, then
My God.
we're in a fantasy level where we can shapeshift. So
What?
Mio can turn into this huge baboon thing,
No.
or into
They
like
love
this
baboons.
like fish dragon. So she can climb around, she can ground pound, she can swim. Whereas me, Zoe, I can turn into a little fairy and I can like do these chain jumps and like fly over these like pollen trails and stuff like that. And I can also turn into like an ant, like Groot kind of thing, and like grapple out my roots to like make plants grow or like cross gaps and stuff. And this is when like well, I mean, the platforming is already challenging throughout this game. Like, this is not a game for like to bring in somebody that doesn't play video games, right? Like, It
Yeah.
Takes Two is like this too. It's like you need to both be good.
Yeah.
And this was one of those levels where like, okay, this was really starting to like pick up the challenge of like the co-op stuff of like, okay, I've got to get over to this thing, and then he's got to hit it, and then we've got to get our timing right because if we don't have our timing right, like one of us is going to hit an obstacle. But that was really freaking sick. Then we get into this thing in the sci-fi where we're both like these rolling balls, and I've got like a Metroid Prime spider ball kind of thing where I can like get onto like these gravity surfaces, and they've got like another thing going on. But really quickly, it ends up putting us into this pinball level, and so I'm controlling the ball, and
Dawn is pumped.
other player is controlling the flippers and the plungers and stuff like that. And so we've got to coordinate because it's not just like a normal pinball table. It's like all of these platforming sections, like you're going through loops and you're having to like they're having to bounce me up and then I'm gonna have to grab onto something and it's crazy. And it even gets into like another great boss fight there where it's like,
Mm.
okay, I've got to like pull the boss down to where he can flip it with the bumper and knock it into a thing. And then it's just like it's like blowing my mind how much stuff there is.
Yeah.
And then
Sounds
we get
like
the
it.
dragons.
Oh my gosh.
And his dragon can spit acid and glide, and my dragon can like roll down things and like smash into things.
Cool.
And so we've got to do another. This is like the most like exploratory puzzle thing where like we almost kind of got stuck because he didn't realize he could glide, and so we're having a hard
Mm.
time figuring like, okay, how do you cross this gap? Because I think you can get over there, but like he didn't push the button to realize like, oh, okay, I can extend my wings and glide out. But there was this crazy part where like I had to like knock into this hanging bell, and the bell would swing up, and then like it would create like this like temporary platform. And so I would have to hit the bell at like pretty much as he jumped. And then I'd have to turn directions and hit the bell again so that he would jump from one temporary platform to the next temporary platform and cross over and then make a path for me. And then like he could like melt things and then I could smash them after they've been melted.
Mm.
And just like and then Huber, the last thing that we did was this like freaking Contra-like level. Side scrolling, twin stick, so like you're like any direction, you're just like blasting stuff.
Yeah. Super shotgun?
No, it's just like really fast bullets. Like so one of us was blue and the other one's red. I was blue
Hmm.
and she was red. But and then there was also like these we had like these explosives where it's like
Yeah.
you would fire a thing and then detonate it. But like even there, there's like a lot of, like I can only hit the blue things, she can only hit, or he can only hit the red things.
Hmm.
Um, and there were like a lot of like things where you had to like coordinate like, hitting targets and stuff like that. And there's this one thing where there's like a pendulum that was going back and forth, and there were like these blue and red things above it. And so we had to figure out like how to put our grenades onto the pendulum and hit it at the right time and detonate
Wow.
our grenades at the right time to like blow that up.
Communication and strategy. That's
Yeah.
really fun. It's a fun way to take out a boss too.
And then that level has like a lot of portal stuff. So like you're hopping through portals and then like moving the portal. So like while somebody's like falling into a portal, like then they bounce out at the right spot.
Mhm.
And then it just had like another killer boss fight that was just like, again, just big giant robot and like multiple phases, right? Like
Yeah.
we're having to dodge all of these ads. And then you have like this one part which is sort of like Battletoads, where you're like looking from the robot's perspective and like you're on the ground, like throwing things at the
Classic.
camera.
Yeah.
And then like you go through like this big 3D chase sequence, but it's just like it's so much humor. And like I'm like fast forwarding it and it's still taking forever to try to wrap it up because it's just such a great game full of variety, and like everything just feels so polished and so ready, dude. Like
God. I mean, they've never missed too, right? And it's like, I mean, it feels like It Takes Two was like the peak and the culmination of what they've been doing over there. And now it feels like this could just even top that.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna be such a blast. Like it's like we have to like full play through this. I don't know how we're
Oh
gonna do it,
hell yeah.
but like yeah, it's gonna be wild.
So rad. So rad. And I love that they're committing to the local multiplayer only for like the real vibes there, you know?
Well, no,
Because
you
that
can play it
is
online. Remember?
Oh, you can. Okay.
That's when they did It Takes Two. Like you had a buddy pass. Like you would give your
Right.
second, basically
I
a
keep
second
thinking of a
copy of
way
the
out.
game. Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
So because we actually played a lot of that. I don't know, because I think that came out like during the pandemic or something. Like we were
Mm,
streaming that from home, doing that full playthrough.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I'm very, very impressed. Like like I said, the only thing that like I really have any kind of criticism towards so far is like the story, and like it's not
The
a
fact that
big
they were having
deal.
you skip a lot of it too
Yeah,
is
that's true. Yeah.
a big
Uh,
factor, but
and then there's like one or two parts that were like a little bit awkward. Like there's one swimming section like early on where like we're going through this tunnel, and there are these trolls that were smashing open things, and like
hmm,
it just, for whatever reason, that part felt a little bit awkward. But most of the time, like the platforming feels on point, and when you get into new things, that all feels like really good. And so yeah,
nice.
and I'm just also just very impressed with just like how good the dragons look,
Hmm.
and like the scale of a lot of the stuff that's going on. And that's why I'm like, I don't know how you did all of this, right? Like you could have taken like the majority of these things and made their own games out of them, and you're like, nope, this is all in the same game.
So cool.
So
Can't wait, Blood.
yeah. So
Pretty
yeah, I'm really glad I got to talk to you about it. Thank you to
platformers.
everyone for dealing with probably lower than usual audio quality and all of this. I'm recording off my laptop, but I'm in Vegas, and I wanted to get this done before I got back. So thank you for watching. Check us
Oh yeah.
out at patreon.com/easyallies to support us, and
Do
we
it.
will see you soon.
They're jetpacks. But of course,